Welcome to the Pixel Scandal Nerdcast. This is episode 40. I'm Gigett.
Nightson.
Oreztes.
Yay! And
This
tonight's
was my one opportunity to ever do hello and welcome, and I lost it.
I mean, we could do it next week. Kurt won't be here next week. Tonight's spotlight topic is going to be film and television adaptations of literature, which is going to be awesome.
That sounds like a scholarly thesis.
Okay, so Kurt wrote that because Kurt's smug. What I wrote was books and comics into movies and TV shows, which sounds a little more like what we're going to talk about tonight. But before we get to that, Nightson, do we have any announcements?
Oh, apparently that's me. I didn't see my name. As you can tell, this was very well planned, thought out, and expertly.
Gave me the keys, guys.
Yeah, nothing poorly can happen. All right, so it looks like we have our next side quest, which is going to be Cruise Ship of the Damned, run by Mr. Dave Gigett. Mm-hmm. And that is going to be Saturday, February 23rd at 9 a.m., which is 2 weeks away.
2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. I believe we have a demo.
We do have a demo,
but we do not have the capability to run it. So just think how amazing it is, and that's basically what to expect.
Just run the promo in your mind.
Yeah. Think cruise ship. Think Damned. Think Dave Gigett.
Yeah, the little catchphrase I was told about it was "Love Boat with Zombies."
Nice.
Now I wanted to ask about that. Are the zombies in love on this love boat? Like, is it a bunch of zombies hooking up, or is it like some zombies, some humans trying to figure out how to go about that whole?
I think the only way that would work is if it was like the Return of the Living Dead, where the girl was a zombie, but she was like normal. She just wanted to eat brains.
Wasn't there a movie recently about like a zombie that falls in love with a girl? Warm Bodies or something?
Warm Bodies or something.
Warm Bodies.
Which was actually not as bad as it looked.
Which was actually a book before it was a movie.
And there's the tie-in. We are on point tonight.
Yeah.
So we're playing Warm Bodies on a boat.
Yes. And then we just had our Dungeon World this morning, our Triumphant Return, which should be posted tomorrow or Monday to the YouTubes. Otherwise, you can just check it out on the Twitch recently posted thingies. Mm-hmm. But we do have our next Dungeon World game. We are very quickly drawing to a close. And that will be Saturday, March 9th at 9 a.m. God, I hate all of you.
I feel like for our next
We're renegotiating this contract.
We might need to talk about what time we have these games. Because this 9 a.m. thing is bullshit. At least I'm not the only one that thinks it's bullshit. Awesome.
You have been arguing with me for months over it.
I made a decision about time, and I'm just sticking to it. I'm trying to be consistent about a bad decision I made like a year ago, and I'm just going forward with it, and we'll fix it later. That's where I'm at with it. As you guys can see, we are down to half the cast tonight. So
the best half.
This is the best half.
Wait, we're down the best half of the cast?
No, we're the best half of the cast.
She said to the best half of the cast.
Oh, to the best half.
Okay. To the best half of the cast, yeah. We kicked out Kurt because he went to our local game store to go play indie RPGs and Handor's watching people beat each other up. And I don't know what End of Line's doing. But we're here.
Throwing up into something.
Yeah, I think he has the flu. So anyway, let's move into what we're excited about. I think I have all the things on here that we're excited about. So the first one is the Piranha Plant release in Smash Bros. It released on January 30th. And my mini-me and I have been playing a ton of Smash Bros. Together. I'm
sorry.
It's super fun though. It really is. I like him kicking my ass in Smash Bros.
I gotta say, I'm super surprised that they're adding characters. That like, there's a cast of like 300 characters already. It seems kind of excessive.
Wait,
And they're like,
Piranha
"Here's more."
Plant. Piranha Plant's a character? I thought that would be
Yeah.
like an item that you pick up and chuck it.
No,
like
you
a
literally
proper
are
character.
a piranha plant in a little vase or pot, and you jump around and.
Your leaves are kind of like your hands, so like you punch people with your leaf hands, or you can grab somebody and then bite them with your piranha face.
Yeah, so there's a video
really
that I
cool.
posted in our Discord chat a few weeks ago when Handor was talking about Smash Brothers, and it's basically the sound that the floor in every stage makes when the Animal Crossing villager smacks his face onto the ground, and that reminds me of Smash Brothers. That's how I feel whenever I have to watch or hear about Smash Brothers, is just slamming my face into the ground because that game is so boring. I don't know why it's so popular at Evo. If it wasn't for the crossover appeal, I don't know. I don't get it. But
Well, you're not
whatever.
a PvP kind of player, so I mean, it makes sense that you wouldn't like Smash Bros. Because it's like you're fighting your friends.
Guess that's true.
So it doesn't fit your kind of game anyway.
Yeah, you can't play support.
You can't play support in Smash Bros. I mean, you can, but
I bet I could.
I'm pretty sure you'd lose.
Alternate win condition engaged.
Right?
Yep.
But yeah, it's really weird when you push up and B, your leaves spin, so you become kind of like a helicopter, which helps if you get knocked off the platform. You can just fly yourself back up there. But yeah, it's neat. It's cool. I like it. I guess it was like rumored to be releasing like February 15th or so, and then they just all of a sudden released it at the end of January without a lot of like pomp and circumstance. So yeah, it's cool. I like it. Super fun. So the next thing I'm excited about is OrCon, which is next weekend. Me and Kurt and 3.0, we'll be heading down to LA for 5 days of RPG gaming. And I'm excited because I'm going to get to try out For the Queen, which is the other game that Alex Roberts, who was our wonderful guest when we were talking about romance and RPGs, she wrote another game called For the Queen that's not even quite out yet. They haven't done the Kickstarter or anything, but a friend of ours and Kurt and a bunch of other people are going to run like this 30-person game of it. And it's a story game, bullshit game, so it'll be big and fun and not a lot of rules, I guess. I don't know, I haven't played it, but Kurt said it's fabulous and fun.
But somehow you fit 30 people in a room to play it?
Yeah,
I don't know,
have
man.
no idea.
When Alice was on the show, she was talking about that mermaid LARP. So I could see like just a ton of people showing up, and like it's. I feel like you could just go to Renaissance Fair. Like you could just go to the Ren Fair, and it would be the same as like For the Queen, which is basically just a big LARP.
Yeah, I mean, Kurt, when he came back from Big Bad Con, was saying that they played For the Queen Bee and like put like a beehive theme to the game and played it as bees instead of like a queen court, which sounded adorable, which is totally like right up my alley for the kind of gaming I like to do. So I don't know, we'll see. It's the first game I'm playing at Strategicon, so I'm like super excited about it.
But you won't be inebriated enough yet.
I will not, but thanks
challenge
to
accepted.
Yeah, I was going to say challenge.
Thanks to a major injury that I have, I will be on plenty of painkillers, which
That should
make
be sufficient.
me a very big lightweight for drinking. So
Alcohol may intensify the effects.
exactly. And the other game I'm going to play is called Icarus, which is by Spencer Reed. And that the Kickstarter for that is actually going to be launching pretty soon, or so I've heard rumor in the indie RPG game. Kurt. I've heard it from Kurt. I don't know why I'm trying to say it. I heard it from anybody else. Kurt said the Kickstarter for Icarus is coming out soon. And I'm kind of excited to get to play 2 games for the Queen and Icarus, both games that aren't out yet, and get to see what they're going to be like before I have the opportunity to back them, which is kind of neat. So if it's my kind of game, I'll get to test it out and see if I like it before I spend money on it. So that's kind of neat. I'm excited about that.
And then isn't Kurt going to be running a game on stream for the con?
So Kurt is. So Happy Jack's RPG, which we talk about a bunch on here, is doing something very different at Orcon this year, which is they're going to stream a game in every game slot on their Twitch channel, which we host, so it'll be on our channel too. But so at their 2 o'clock slot on Friday, their 8 p.m. on Friday, 9 a.m., 2 p.m. Saturday, and so on and so forth. They're going to do every slot, the entire con, one game that is hosted by either a Happy Jacks member or a like B team helper like Kurt. And then the games themselves are going to have 2 players that are from the Happy Jacks community and then 2 players that sign up at the con. So, and those are going to be streamed live, which is going to be really neat. And Kurt's going to be running his lighthearted game, which is 80s with magic and feeling. And that's going to be, I believe his slot starts at 1 o'clock on Saturday and goes till 6 o'clock Saturday. So he'll be running.
Oh, dear Lord.
Damn.
Someone has to put up with him for 5 hours.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's so that they can take a break in the middle, and they're going to do character gen and have to make sure the stream is up, because the actual slots are from 2 to 6, but if you're on the stream, you're required to be there at 1. So I don't know if they're going live at 1 or they're going live at 2, like they're supposed to. So somewhere around the 1-2 o'clock hour on Saturday of next weekend, Kurt will be running his lighthearted
Gotta
game.
show up and talk about his feelings.
Well, he doesn't have to talk about his.
Explain why purple is the best feeling.
Which Kurt is getting pretty far on the development of Lighthearted and has, I think, is getting pretty close to being done with it. He said he needs to come up with some like solidified GM rules that the GMs have to follow, not just the players. But otherwise, his system is kind of coming together pretty nicely. So that's exciting.
But he's not here, so this is all we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, fuck him. So last but not least, on our what we're excited about, I backed a Kickstarter this week called Girl Underground. I will totally.
How much do you need to pay to get her out of the ground? What stretch goal is that?
Oops, that's not what I meant to do.
Oh, she broke it. That's the it's the tabletop version of the Unbreakable
It's okay,
Kimmy
there's no one in
Schmidt.
chat. All right, there we go. I just posted the link in chat to the Kickstarter. So Girl Underground is a RPG that is kind of feels like Wizard of Oz or Alice in Wonderland, and the game itself it's kind of a PBTA hack. So it's got playbooks, and one character is the girl, and then there's like the beast and the puppet and the like, they're all very cutesy type characters. It kind of feels like playing Alice in Wonderland, and it's written by Lauren. I can never say her last name. Click on the link. It's I can never say her last name, and I always feel really bad about it. But yeah, it looks really cool, and it's just a little zine, so it's like a little lightweight, like less than 100 pages book, and you get the PDF and the physical zine, and I think it's like $9 for the Kickstarter to get the zine and the PDF. And they already reached their goal, so you're definitely going to get your thing, and their stretch goals are to add more playbooks, so they've already added a bunch of playbooks to it, so yeah, it's like a cutesy little RPG thing.
So I'm just going to say, like right there in the URL, it says Jessie Ross, and I'm assuming Jessie is short for Jessica and Ross is her last name. And
yes,
you have a
that
problem because
is...
you can't say Ross.
No, that's I'm going to totally find her name right now. Well, Jesse Ross is Lauren's partner in this.
Oh.
And I really wish I could find how to say her last name because it's gonna drive me crazy until I do.
Just put it into Google Translate.
But
That can't go wrong.
anyway,
Just that text to speech you were using last week. Just roll with that.
Oh, there we go. So their goal was
Gigett.
$500, and they've already reached $6,500. So they're definitely
Awesome.
gonna make their goal. Yeah. So it's very.
I've always
exciting.
been a fan of Kickstarters that are basically the product's finished and just
Right. Yeah. The
pay for
product's
production
finished.
costs.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's definitely what you're getting here. It's already done, and you're definitely gonna get a product out of it, which is super cool. So.
Yay, product.
Yeah. Yay. So anyway, let's move on to what we've played recently. Somebody else talk for a little while.
I'm not excited about anything because life is misery.
I'm excited we're going to play Gloomhaven again tomorrow. Aren't you excited
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Totes, yeah. Totally excited to get back to my Tinker. Most OP healer in the game.
Until the next one.
Yeah.
I don't
Until I
know,
unlock
man.
Bard for you.
I don't know. Bard is not a healer. Bard is like other types of support. Like Bard is like, Bard is warlord. Bard is lazy warlord without the. So I am looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But yeah.
So this morning
as the
we
barbarian that gets hit all the time, I need you to stay healer.
Yeah.
Just selfishly.
I probably will. I'll probably have to reroll Tinker because Kurt is going to jump all over Rat Bear as soon as that gets unlocked.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, so this morning, what was this morning?
This morning we played Dungeon World, the newest episode, and it was nice getting back in there. We took a month off for various reasons, not looking at anyone. And so we got to get in there again, and we attended a party, had some more crazy fun times, and you should check it out. I would definitely recommend.
Yeah. It was a really fun game today. It's weird. The game felt very short, even though it was the same length as every other game that we do. But it just, I don't know, it felt like everything was happening so fast that it was 3 hours just flew by.
Well, I think one of the big differences is in previous weeks, Kurt always opens up the game with what happened between these two major scenes. Like, you have X number of weeks downtime or whatever. What are you doing?
Right.
And historically, we've always been 10 seconds spent on it. Each one of us speaks up for a sentence like, here's what I'm doing. Great. That's nice.
Right.
We spent a whole hour and 20 minutes in like character development and plot building and whatnot before we even got into the actual quote unquote game of the day.
Right. Yeah. Which I felt like that non-party stuff, the like pre-gaming stuff, those scenes were actually like really important and interesting, where in past games sometimes it felt like, oh, we're just marking time, but it felt more important this time. Like there was more weight to what we were
honestly
doing.
It kind of works. You usually see it in a lot of other forms of media where you'll see it as where there are things that are semi similar to each other. The first couple they might spend a lot on the thing, but there'll be one or two where it's kind of that thing is in the background,
right.
And it's more they spend more time on the off stuff, and so it was definitely nice having a less critical or dangerous, as it were, party to go to this time, and have something a little different.
Yeah. But I definitely loved all of the interaction with Raven, and I really like that your addition of this new character to the group. Like, I know you've been with us for several games as Raven, but I feel like every game we get a little more of who Raven is and more interaction from that character. And yeah, I'm very scared of what's going to happen in the future with Raven.
Nothing. Nothing at all is gonna happen. Raven is perfectly friendly. He's he's on your side. He's gonna be a great ally for the cause.
Totally. Yeah. Some great things were confirmed for Raven, I think, in this episode. So yeah, definitely go check it out, and it'll be posted in our YouTube channel in another day or two. So whenever Kurt gets around to it. Things are real official around here at Pixel Scandal, guys.
Well, the truth is we actually can't repost anything for 24 hours, regardless.
Right.
Like that's the affiliate policy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So next on what we played recently, wonderfully, Kurt is not here to defend himself. So I get to talk about Civilization and talk about how it's all Kurt's fault. He deserved to be attacked. I graciously gave back his city that he put too close to my capital, and then Nightson decided it looked like a good idea for him.
And then I got bored and attacked France.
Yeah. It was so great because we're sitting there and you're like, hey, can we do open borders? And I was like, yeah, we can totally do open borders. And the next thing I see are these cannons. Like, cannons going through my city, and then another cannon goes through my city, and then another cannon. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, nowhere.
Kurt sees me. He's like, what are you doing? Still training?
Oh, it was so great. So if Kurt asks, and you're talking to Kurt for any reason, it's his fault, and he asked for it. He asked to get attacked. Because he's not here to defend himself. That's what happens when you don't show up for the show.
Yeah, what's super interesting is we've played 2 games now.
Yes.
And both times, Gigett and I have been 6 squares apart.
Yeah. And Kurt's on the other side of the world from us. Not even on our same continent this time. Yeah, it's crazy. And I don't know. It's really funny. The barbarians, I feel like, were less barbarian-y in this new one. Like, you and I, because of the strategic places we put our capitals and then our subsequent cities, they keep forming between us, and then we both tack the barbarians, so like they're not getting out of control this time.
Yeah.
And so they're not like, burning down all of our stuff. Which is kind of, Kurt's over there like, fuck these fucking barbarians! They're burning down my city again! And we're like, oh, yeah, we're not having any problems with barbarians over here.
One builder on a boat sailing around the world.
Yeah, earlier today, Nightson's like, Kurt, why do you have a builder in Boston, which is one of Nightson's cities? And he's like, oh, I'm just exploring. Now with a scout, with a builder. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. So I heard you guys have been playing Destiny 2. Is that just Oreztes?
I have. It's just me.
He's got some catching up to do, so I gave him a key a couple days ago, and so once he gets up to max level, whatever the hell that is, I'll download it. We can give it a shot.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's just they're trying to distract me from getting Anthem when it comes out in a couple weeks.
Okay.
But I don't know if it's working because I've been watching a lot of videos about Anthem, and it sounds like it's actually going to be good. And
Okay.
BioWare is not letting EA have control.
Well, that's good. Because EA sucks.
Well, as I said before, they need it to succeed.
Yeah.
If it fails, they're probably done.
Yeah.
Well, that new game that they just released, their new Battle Royale Titanfall thingy, I forgot what it's called. It's been doing really good. Supposedly, it's supposed to be amazing.
Yeah, but that's not BioWare, is it?
No, it's EA.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. I mean BioWare as a company. If Anthem doesn't succeed, they're done. EA's not going anywhere.
But BioWare's got Dragon Age.
Yeah, which is some like 5 years out.
And Mass Effect was good.
And it's dead. They actually killed it. It's actually dead. Mass Effect 4 or whatever was so poorly received and so buggy and a horrible mess that
I had fun with Andromeda. I played it. I liked it.
I'm not saying it was a bad game or a good game. When I got it, it was not the kind of game I felt like playing, and so I kind of got burned out on it really quickly. I'm not going to blame it on the game, but the buggy launch mess, I will blame that on the game, and that turned so many people off that they flat out just said, we're canceling all DLC for this game. And then a week later, yeah, we're canceling this franchise.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
all future development for the Mass Effect is permanently on hiatus. So
yeah. Well, that's poo. But yeah, so I've been playing Destiny. I'm at level 8. It's my pinky hurts because I have a wood claw grip on the mouse when I'm doing first-person shooters, and I squeeze it too hard because I'm focusing, and I'm like, man.
I got the claw.
Maybe no wonder you're having trouble with an MMO mouse. You gotta retrain how you're holding a mouse.
I hold it like this. And then I got my 2 fingers on this side there, but I squeeze it when I'm aiming. Yeah. I gotta get my headshots. So I gotta squeeze and I gotta zoom in and I gotta hold the right click and then the left click. Tap, tap. Pew. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's better than I wasn't expecting anything from it because I'd never played Destiny before. I've never played a first-person shooter RPG aside from Borderlands.
Yeah, it's basically Borderlands for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, so it's I'm not a fan of the Warlock, the class you get, the Phoenix thing. I don't want to be a Phoenix. I want to be a Void Warlock. So I need to keep playing to unlock that. But I don't know. I'm still.
I'll have to take another look at it and just kind of see where it is. You know, if there's better information. But for me, you know, it's coming out in a couple weeks, and then I've got Division 2 shortly thereafter. So.
Yeah, well, Division 2 is coming out on the 15th, isn't it?
No, I think it's March.
Quick. Is it in March? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then they did some. I was reading earlier when I was at the Pearson.
March 15th.
Okay. Well, that's what I said.
You were right.
15th.
It was a 15th. Right. It's just not this month's 15th.
Yeah. They retweaked some of the balance. So when we were doing the demo, the Anthem demo, hard mode was like 300% increase to enemy health. And since then, they've retuned it. So now Grandmaster 1 is 165%, and Grandmaster 2 is 450%. So when we were playing the open demo, we were basically playing on like Grandmaster 1.5.
Here's the funny thing. Like, things were a little bullet spongy, but not that much.
Not really.
If we had been, like, we got and started doing hard mode after like 2 or 3 hours. If we were still playing, like if we were playing the new hard mode, it would have been embarrassingly easy. But you know, whatever.
Well, I don't know about the scaling, like the AI. They might have got some new AI in there. They might have increased the amount of damage that enemies do also. I'm sure they do, but I don't know. I just know the health scaling of the mobs was tweaked. So now Grandmaster 3 is like 900%, and originally it was like 3,100% increase.
Actually, you know what? I will comment. One of the quests we did with like the tree guys. Those guys had way too much health.
Oh, the ash giants or whatever?
Yeah.
Well, that's because you're supposed to shoot them in the arms when they're powering up their arms to shoot you with special moves. You just stand back and don't do nothing. And then they're like, I'm charging my fireball. And you shoot their arms and they're like, ow, quarter of my health gone.
Okay, well, you could have told me that then.
Well, I didn't know about that until you guys had stopped playing.
Well, before we move into the spotlight topic, I thought of one more game that I kind of sort of played. Well, didn't actually play, but I installed, which is Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy 14. We got to play after this. We're cutting the podcast. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Okay, let's go.
I was having trouble resetting my password, and I sat on tech support, and by tech support, I mean I talked to those two. And I got my account back up and running and installed it.
Within 3 minutes.
Yeah, it was real quick. I was like, fuck this thing. You guys, did you do this? No.
You know, on one hand, I would definitely complain at how stupid it is that they have the multiple site problem.
Yeah.
But in the same note, Blizzard is the same way.
Right.
They have Battle.net, which is their real account thing, and then
Mhm.
there's like the Blizzard.com for some other stuff. Like
And I
their
think the
corporate
only
level.
problem is when you step away for too long and you forget that there's multiple sites, and then you come back to it and you can't figure out how to get into your account. And that's the only reason I had a problem, is because I haven't been on that account in so long that I forgot that there's multiple sites involved.
Well,
I
and to
would be
make-
remiss though if I did not mention, if you happen to be a Twitch Prime member,
Yes.
just go on the top of your screen right now. There's a little picture of a crown. You can click it and get a free copy of the base game of Final Fantasy 14. It's
with one
standard
month
MMO.
subscription.
Yeah, with 1 month subscription. Go up to 60 or 50. Try out all that jazz and see if you're interested.
Yeah.
And then if you do like it, and it's like, oh wow, this is an amazing game, and I really want to play it, and somehow I managed to play through 200 hours of story content.
Or spend $20 to skip it.
That is also an option. But
Try that.
if that is the case, the expansion is coming out in June, and for I think it's $40 dues, you will get all 3 expansions. So
Nice.
even if you started today, unless you are a grindaholic, you are not getting through it by June.
You only
Pick
need
it
to
up.
get one character to 50 to unlock Blue Mage.
Well, nice.
Yeah.
Cool. And if you have a Twitch Prime subscription, you should totally throw your sub our way to the channel, which would be super awesome. But let's move on into our spotlight topic for tonight, which is books and comics that were made into movies and TV shows, or whatever highbrow thing Kurt said.
So real quick before we go on to that, because we were talking earlier, I need to make this point. How Nightson was just saying Blizzard does the same thing with your Battle.net and then Blizzard.com.
Yes.
With Destiny 2, now you got Bungie. You got your Bungie account. And if you go to the Bungie website and you just click the sign-in button,
That's
it
right.
It routes you through Sony's website because Sony is somehow tied up to Bungie. So I was trying to log into my Bungie website today to be like, sign up for the Division 2 beta. And I was like, I have a Bungie account. I just got one for Destiny. Let me log in. And it was like, log in, Sony Network. I was like, no, Bungie Network. What the hell? So it went from Battle.net to Bungie to PlayStation to Sony. And I was like, I don't understand what's happening here.
But you're like, but somehow I'm signed up for a beta.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on. Movies and books and shows.
Comics and shows and things. Yeah. So, so to start us off here, talking about like books and comics that were made into movies and TV shows. Have you guys seen any books or comic books that were well made into, I mean, obviously we have opinions on the shitty ones, but where do you feel like it was done really well?
I would say, like the one that always stands out in my mind, book to movie, is going to be Lord of the Rings. I realize the books are a critical success all the same, and lots of people love them. I can't stand how wordy Tolkien is.
I completely agree. I've read them, but man, it was...
I could not get through them. I'm like, all right, the first movie's coming out. I'm going to read this book. I did not read this book. I got about halfway through, and at the time I was working in a place that I did not have to work, and so I got to basically sit around all day. I had a book. That was my entertainment for the day.
Oh, no.
I opted to stare at the wall because I...
Just sit there and think about what you did. Try and do that.
I was not a fan. Now, in fairness, maybe it's for if I were to read it in that time period where fantasy hadn't existed or anything else, maybe it'd be a different story. But I'm ultimately going to say the movies were amazing to make a very unapproachable content open to the masses.
I kind of feel that way about Game of Thrones. Like, trying to get through those books,
those are hard.
Those are hard.
Even the audiobooks, because I
Yeah.
have all the audiobooks and I would listen to those at work, and I would be just listening to the books, doing my, shutting my brain off because you don't need your brain to work where I work. And I'd be sitting there working, and then someone would come up, and I'd be like, "Oh, let me pay attention to this," and I would kind of tune out the book while I was focusing on the one thing I actually had to think about, and then I would come
Right.
back to the book and be like, "Whoa, what's happening? This is like way different." Like
Right.
Game of Thrones is the type of thing where if you're not paying attention, you're gonna lose your place real quick.
Yeah, and and I feel like both Lord of the Rings and the Song of Fire and Ice, like they're very similar in that if you stop paying attention or you lose your place if you're physically reading it, or tune out for a little bit during the audiobook because they're, I don't know, rattling off names or being overly descriptive about something, in that brief moment that you didn't pay attention, there was like something really important that 10 minutes later you're like, wait, what? Just because your brain wandered during the really long, boring, descriptive part. And so I think I agree with you, Nightson, that both Lord of the Rings and I would say the Game of Thrones series has done the book series well by transferring into visual medium. Something I think is really interesting is movies that become classics that we forget were originally novels. Like, I always forget that The Godfather was a novel before it was a movie because I saw the movie first and then learned it was a novel and went back and read the novel. Or like To Kill a Mockingbird, like all of these really classic movies that are also very, iconic classic novels.
You say that I only barely even knew that To Kill a Mockingbird had a movie. I was only really aware of the book. Yeah.
Oh man, I grew up watching really old movies, so like watching To Kill a Mockingbird or Gone with the Wind or Wizard of Oz, like the old movies. I saw those when I was too young to sit and read the thick books.
Yeah.
And so I experienced the films before I actually read the novels. But I think it's really interesting when that happens, though, when a classic novel becomes a classic movie. Like, not just like, oh, it was a book and they also made a movie out of it, but both things become like these classics. I think that's really a testament to how good the fiction was that was written when they become that.
Like you look now, Jurassic Park.
Right.
All of the original movies were based on books.
She said fiction. Jurassic Park is true story.
But I would argue if you went and talked to the little one right now, he would be surprised to know that it's a book. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of how I feel about certain movies. Like, I forget that there was a book that came before it, like Jurassic Park. Like, I always know that there's a book before Jurassic Park the movie, but every time someone says it, I go, oh yeah, like I forget, because it was such a big blockbuster movie that it's, now however many 30 years later or whatever, it's.
And the book was so much better because it started off with a bunch of little dinosaurs eating a baby that they jumped into the house in the window and ate the baby out of the crate. And I was like, what the shit is this?
What the
That's
hell?
not in the movie.
Yeah, the first book was very, very good. The second one was absolutely terrible.
Well, I mean, that kind of goes for the movie franchise too.
Yeah. They were working,
Far superior.
Yeah, but so why do you guys think so many novels are turned into books?
Well, I think a lot of it is.
I think novels are books.
I mean, why are so many novels turned into movies?
Well, Anyways,
Thanks.
I think a lot of it is we're just going to pass over that. And
Yeah.
Not well, let's not dignify it with drawing attention to it.
Thanks.
One of the big things, and this is what I mentioned last week before, is so many times, a book or any form of media that we grow up with, we want, it plays some way in our head that when we are now the directors, we are now the producers, we want to take that thing and put that spin on it to make it ours. And so why not? It gives the ability to bring these classics or even not so classics to another generation, to a new group of people. And
but and then they have like a pre-built audience.
True.
Book sells 1 million copies. It's like, well, that's probably, they all like the book, they're going to go watch the movie.
Right. That's true.
But the dangerous thing about that, though, is if you give somebody this like everybody, when you read a book and it's just a book, everybody experiences books differently. So the person who read the book, like everybody has different voices for the characters in there. Everybody has different, imagines them looking different, even if there's a description. So when you give, somebody basically the permission to
make the voice in his head the true voice,
you run the risk of like ruining this content for everybody else who loved it. Ready Player One, piece of shit. And it's dangerous. I don't know.
No, I completely agree with you. I think that I think my biggest pet peeve with books being turned into movies or TV shows is when they change major aspects of the book that don't feel like they needed to be changed. When there's certain things that, like, okay, obviously we're not going to be able to show someone's internal dialogue on screen, right? And so we have to get that same information out, but in a different way or through different character interactions, or but when they make huge plot changes, it really drives me crazy, because it was such a good book that they bought it for a reason, and then to change like a major plot point, it's like, well, why'd you buy the novel then if you were just going to change the story? And that really frustrates me.
Well, I feel the same way about Ender's Game. Ender's Game is my biggest, oh my dear God. Like, that was my favorite book for a million years. I still probably read it once a year.
Right.
And everything up until, like, the first act of that movie was solid. They made changes. They dealt with the internal dialogue thing by introducing another character that really wasn't a big player until later on, and having dialogue between the two characters. It's like, okay, that's good enough. All the other little changes, like, okay, I can understand why you would make that change for this audience, for this medium.
Right.
And then it went to shit so fast, so hard, that it made me cry a little.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest problem is, if they're going to try and make an entire book or a series of books into one movie, sometimes they have to change which character did a certain thing and cut out characters, or cut out side plot lines that were important to the book but weren't important to the main plot line, and nip and cut to make it into one movie. But when they take a franchise of books and turn it into a franchise of movies, I think that's I think there's even more pressure to make it as true to the books as possible, because you're giving, instead of 2 hours to fit in a book you spent days reading, you now have somewhere between 6 to 8 hours of time to really play out the what happened in the novels. And so I don't know. It's even more frustrating when there's multiple movies and they change the plot lines.
Well, it's funny on that, because up until recently, it was a very movie push. You have your Harry Potter, you have your Hunger Games, Twilight, all these books that are getting multiple movies to tell the full story arc. But in this post Game of Thrones world, like, or the Netflix and all that, you can still tell these huge stories because you can throw 10 hours.
Right.
You don't have to make it somehow cut it down into 2 hours and roll with that.
Right. I think I actually prefer that. I prefer when they take a book series and turn it into a television show rather than several movies, because you can do more of the plot line and actually get into the character development that you saw happen through the books and you know, that's True Blood. I think is one of those series that the first couple seasons were right on with the books. They made a few changes that were like, okay, I see where you're doing that. And then about halfway through, they were like, throw out the books. We're going to do whatever the hell we want. And
well, I think they ran out of content,
really
didn't they?
No, there's 15 books. I mean, there was...
really? Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of books in that series. And about season 4, I think, they took a major left turn and changed some huge plot points. And yeah, so that was one of those that the show was really good and the books were really good, but the show was not the books after like season 3.
Well, the problem with like a long-standing season-based show, though, is you do run it's now multiple years. We've seen results. We've seen demographics. We've seen viewership. It's very hard to stay on course and not go, well, if we change something, we could be doing better.
Right. Or an actor decides to leave the show that was a major character, and now they have to figure out how to write that character out of the show that in the books was there till the end, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
There's
or
other
just
things.
Change them and hope nobody notices.
Right, exactly.
But the TV show is a recent thing, because before
that's what
HBO,
I mean.
Before HBO and Netflix, there were TV shows that were books and they were bad.
Dresden Files.
I will say The Shining, the TV series Shining, was actually very, very good. It was.
But that's a movie. Those are like.
Was it a miniseries?
No, there was a 6-part miniseries.
Oh.
How long was each episode?
An hour.
That's still 6 hours of content for one book. I mean, that's a lot of time for one novel.
Yeah. It had the one of the main characters from Wings as the guy.
Yeah, but they were always doing Stephen King movie series.
Stephen King is definitely one of those authors that have been turned into a lot of miniseries.
He's got the right people. It's basically at some point he met the right person who got his finger on the pulse of Hollywood and was able to get his stuff made, and B, and more importantly, keep enough creative control that it didn't go to shit. I would say the vast majority of the Stephen King franchise, like his name is associated with at least passable content.
Well, it's obviously Satan, because after the Langoliers and Night Flyer, he should have never had another opportunity to make a movie.
Maybe.
Yeah. Oh God, what was that movie? Dark
Tower.
No, what are those things called that? Oh God.
Babies.
Dreamcatchers. The Dreamcatcher movie. That movie was really bad. It was really, really awful, and oh man.
Yeah.
But
Cat's Eye was good.
Gross.
Pet Sematary was good.
Which they're remaking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the best, I don't know, like literature to crossover I've seen is come out of comics for the most part, because there's been, I mean, a lot of different iterations of the same comics, they're never the same storyline. Like it's comics jump around.
Come out of Marvel.
Well, yeah.
Well,
Wonder Woman was good.
That was the point I was literally going to make, Gidge, which is historically comics have had 30 different people take that character on and make their own storylines. Like and take them in very different ways. So it's not too crazy. Unlike a book where it's been the same guy writing the same story for 15 years. In comics, it's not unheard of that you might not even do any more than an issue of your story arc.
Right.
So switching it out, or
I was
Okay.
going to say, which also I think maybe lets go some of that ownership that fans feel about, like with novels and books and things, where it's you feel very protective about your Ready Player One or your Ender's Game, where it's like, this is a series that was written by this one person, that I love this one book, and it's always been this way. And because comics change and adapt and have different writers, it's a little easier to watch it get made in a different way on screen, or by different actors over and over again, however many
Well, yeah, because
Spider-Mans we've had.
if a movie's bad, you just be like, oh well, that sucked. They should have did this other story.
Right.
Yeah.
Why'd they choose that storyline? They could have done the other one, or
The other thing that really helps with those comics being a visual medium, like you open a comic book and one page has 6 panels on it, we'll say.
Right.
You are made to fill in the blanks, whereas in a book, they are writing those blanks out. So it seems to be, it's a little bit more set in stone for how things are supposed to be. So it's much easier to get that attachment of no, that guy acted this way, or this thing happened, or this is a character. But in comics, it's jumping around, sometimes huge jumps in time or space to move the plot along, because comics are what, 20, 30 pages,
Right.
and so telling that same story in 2 hours is a lot simpler.
Has there been any, like, the reverse, like something that was a movie or TV show that they then made a comic or wrote a book about to continue that? I don't know. It was just something I thought of.
Joss Whedon, both Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, both got long-standing comic books, which I just found out like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. They're still going on.
Oh, wow.
And the fun thing is, a lot of the writers that were involved in the show were writing these comics. So if you really enjoyed the show, you can literally finish off season 8 and start picking up the comic book, because it was called season 9.
Wow.
And it just keeps going.
That's neat.
There's a bunch of Star Wars crap.
Right. Yeah. Doctor Who does
doesn't
that.
count anymore.
There's a bunch of like audiobooks of Doctor Who that they had, like David Tennant and the various people that played his companions come in, and they did like audiobooks for
really?
Doctor Who. Yeah.
That's dedication. I'm impressed with that.
Yeah, they pop up in my Audible recommendation thing all the time. They're like, you listen to this one thing with David Tennant, you'd probably like all of this Doctor Who stuff. Which I would. So.
Yeah, I was just like, you've got me right, Google.
Thanks. Yeah. So what would you guys like to see made into a movie or a TV show that hasn't been made into one yet?
That hasn't been?
Yeah, you can't say Ready Player One, fix
You
it.
can't say Ready Player One again.
Well, no, I was going to bring up that they're remaking Spawn. They're doing another Spawn this year, which I'm totes looking. I mean, it can't be any worse than the old one. I hope. I really hope it's not. But that they haven't done, Battle Chasers.
What's Battle Chasers?
It's my favorite comic from the 90s, Image. Drawn by Joe Madureira. Got a pretty unique art style. It's very bright colors with bold lines. They made a video game of it not too long ago. It's Battle Chasers. I have it. I haven't played it. It's over there, called Night War, I think it is. It's kind of high fantasy. Warrior. There's a warrior. There's a wizard. There's a little girl that's got some magical gauntlets that make her super strong, and she rides on the back of a golem, like a stone golem. But yeah, it's just kind of it's the comic book version of side-scrolling beat 'em up.
Okay.
It's super good. It was one of my favorite series in the 90s. Battle Chasers. I would love to see it. I think it would be awesome.
Neat. What about you, Nightson?
So my cop-out answer, I've got two. So my cop-out answer is Maximum Carnage, which is a series, a Spider-Man series.
Just play the video game, bro.
Unfortunately, we will never see, because they have decided to put the Venom universe separate from the Spider-Man universe. So we'll have to wait for 5 years till they reboot Spider-Man again. And then I get my opportunity. But yeah, as far as comics go, they've actually been knocking out a lot of my favorite storylines, which is super awesome. But my actual legitimate one that I think would work in this post Game of Thrones, post Lord of the Rings kind of thing, I mentioned this morning Dragonlance. I think Dragonlance would translate incredibly well into a television series.
Yeah, it could be really awesome.
It would not work as a movie. Not a chance in hell. There are too many goddamn characters. So many characters that they actually, like, the writers they talked about it, and it's like, yeah, we completely forgot that guy was even here.
Yeah.
In the second book, they actually broke the party in half and had two different storylines going on just to allow them the groups to be manageable.
Yeah.
But it is hands down the most iconic D&D experience I've ever read.
Nice.
And
awesome.
honestly,
Dragonlance is awesome.
I think you get a kick out of it. So if you happen to find it on the old audio, I don't know if there's a good audio book of it.
I don't know about audiobooks, but if you want to read them, I have the annotated.
I think I have 2 copies of the Annotated Chronicles.
Yeah, the Dragon Chronicles. Yeah, Dragonlance was like so amazing. When I was younger, I went to Comic-Con about 10 years ago now, and Margaret Weiss was the author, and Tracy Hickman was the illustrator. And I met Tracy Hickman and got like 3 or 4 different prints.
Well, they're both the authors.
They both Well,
yeah.
Hickman was the illustrator because he had a bunch of prints of like Raceland and stuff like that. And so I got a bunch of those. I got like 4 different ones signed and numbered by him. They're really Dragonlance is awesome.
Yeah, the funny thing to mention how I feel it's so iconic to D&D is because it was literally based on a module series. They worked for TSR back in the old 2nd edition days, and they wrote a bunch of modules, and their play tests and the people who played in their play tests built all the characters basically in this game that they played and whatnot.
Awesome. Yep. That's awesome.
So it feels really true to form, and I think it would translate incredibly well. I wish to see it.
That's awesome.
How about you?
Well, and I mean, we all have played D&D, so we know how like epically awful and wonderful a D&D campaign can go. So I can imagine how great that would be. But what I would like to see, so I was going to say, so when you put this question in the doc earlier, I was thinking about it. And so my original thought was The Discovery of Witches, which when I thought that, I looked it up, and it is a series on FX that's coming out next month. So I can't actually say that because it's already coming out, which is very exciting. So if you have not read A Discovery of Witches, go read it. It's wonderful, and it's going to be a series on FX.
Does FX post their shows to Netflix or Hulu or something?
I don't know.
Not immediately, but like Walking Dead's everywhere.
Yeah, my guess is
never mind.
That's
FX. That's not FX.
That's AMC.
So, yeah.
But I think FX posts to Hulu, so hopefully it's going to show up eventually. So my backup answer, really seriously, I'm excited, is The Secrets of the Immortal Nicholas Flamel. So,
yeah, that'd be good too.
Yeah, so it's a 3-part series book that follows these 2 twins, a boy and a girl, who basically go on this massive adventure to save the world from all of these old gods that these immortal people like Nicholas Flamel and Machiavelli and just all of these, like, I think Joan of Arc is one of the immortals, and all of these different characters are either trying to make the world end or prevent the world from ending, and they're aligning themselves with all of these old gods that were like Greek gods and Roman gods and Egyptian gods and all these different gods, and they're trying to destroy the world, and it's a really awesome book series. And I think it would translate really well on screen. So The Secrets of the Immortal Nicholas Flamel.
Yeah, that reminded me. I would also love to see the Iron Druid.
Oh,
Druid series.
The Iron Druid series would be awesome. Yeah, I'd totally be into that. That would be awesome.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's my That would
Yeah,
be
it's
my
kind of
wishes.
disappointing on that note. They did it right in broad strokes with the Dresden show. They made it a show. They just kind of went a little crazy.
They did weird stuff with the Dresden Files show. They made the first book into episode 5. They
Yeah.
tried to cover an entire book in a 45-minute TV show episode.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even the first episode of the series. It was number 5.
Yeah. Well,
And then they tried
and
to
it was
combine
filmed weird
characters.
because, like,
Yeah.
they would be in a location that they called, like, his house in one episode, and then the next episode they'd say, this was his house, and it looked completely different.
Yeah.
So, like, it was a disjointed.
And then they did
mess.
weird stuff with the characters. Like they tried to combine Karen and Susan
Into
and called
one.
her Connie. And I was
Yeah.
like, what the hell is that?
The only thing I felt like they did right was casting. Like, I felt
Yes,
like the guy
Paul
they
Blackthorne
cast
was awesome.
was
Yeah, no,
wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the woman they had playing Connie would have been a great Karen. Like, I think they did well on casting, but the writing was,
Even Morgan and Ancient Mind, both of them too.
yeah. I think they had casting. The casting person was the only person who had read the books and was like, okay, guys, this is who these people need to be. And then the writers got in there and fucked it up. So
What's interesting though is I don't think a single book would take up a season. But
They'd
I
have
don't
to
think
add
you could do it.
things.
Yeah, they would have to fluff it pretty
Yeah.
heavily.
Well, that's what the briefcases and all that stuff is for.
Right. Well, now that
Yeah.
they've got so much extra stuff for the different between the different books, I think that they could do a really great Dresden series. But honestly, because the first one was so awful, I doubt anybody will ever touch it again.
But if it wasn't on Netflix or HBO, I don't want it. So
No, that's why I'm a little worried about the Discovery of Witches show because it's going to be on FX. It's
But
not
that only
on
had 3
HBO
books though. I
or-
don't know how long.
As long as it's not on Sci-Fi, I think you're safe.
I think my worry is it's going to feel very CW drama romance instead of what it was. So
Isn't The Magicians on Sci-Fi? And isn't that
Yes.
based off of a book?
it is the show. I wasn't going to talk about any of his recommendations because he's not here. 'Cause fuck him. But Kurt read the book series that The Magicians is based on, and that's the book series where he was complaining about how awful it was the whole time and saying that the main character should just kill himself and, like, was the whiniest bitch he's ever heard, and he hated that series. But The Magician's show is really good. Like, they changed enough stuff that it's actually a good show. So,
Oh, actually, I've got one for you that was so much better than the book. It's not even a question. Starship Troopers.
oh,
God, that book was so terrible, and nobody knows it was a book because it was that terrible.
okay.
I heard it was a book, but I wasn't a big enough to get invested in reading the book anyways to begin with, so I'm glad that the book was that much worse. I didn't miss out.
It was awesome.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it was good. It wasn't good enough where I was like, I have to have more of this content. Where can I get it?
Well, the cameras just went super weird for no reason and is cutting off most of our bodies. So we should totally end it here since we've covered our topic. I don't know what happened. So
And after an hour,
everybody
the
sit up really
Gremlins.
high. We're all like at chin level, and I swear I didn't touch the computer. I don't understand why. So, since Kurt's not here to say it, this is where people can find us on the internet. If you go to pixelscandal.com, or you can find us on Twitter or Instagram at @pixelscandal. You can find us on Facebook at, I believe it's Pixel Scandal Show. You can email us at pixelscandal@gmail.com. So those are all the things. The podcast is usually up Monday mornings, and you can find that on Spotify or iTunes or whatever podcast listening app you use, because I'm not going to say the word that Kurt says because I don't like it. So yeah, that's it. We'll be back next Saturday for our podcast.
Some of us.
Some of us. Kurt and I won't be here. But you guys have a really interesting topic next week, and I'm kind of bummed I'm not going to be here to hear about it. So, but we will see you next week at 8 p.m. PST, Pixel Scandal time. So thanks for joining us tonight. Hey,
Very well.
guys.
Let's go play Final Fantasy.